Hello, welcome to Marie's Scrappy Creations, where we sew the scraps of your life into beautiful creations. Now I had this introduction all done. It just would not upload into my video editor. So I'm going to try to say again what I said before, and you guys won't know the difference, but I will. Anyway, today we're going to make a purse, a crossbody purse. And this has two zippered compartments, 1 and 2, as well as an extra pocket for like your wallet or your phone. I personally keep my phone or my keys in mine because I have one of these. And I wanted to say thank you to Kimberly from My Fabric Addiction 1 over at Etsy. She gifted me the fabric that I used to make this today. And if you guys would like to check out her fat quarters or any of her other fabulous fabrics, I'm serious, the link will be in the description box. And I want to say thank you again to Kimberly. This was awesome. And that being said, today in the tutorial, I was thinking before I started the tutorial about upcoming, projects and things that I want to do with you guys. And one of them is a revamp of the tote bag that we've already made. And there's a lot of different things we could do with that. But while I was thinking of it, I was thinking of the 2 straps. So when I was having this cut out, I was having you guys cut 2 straps. You don't need 2 straps. So only listen to half of what I say, okay? No, really though, you only need 1 of the straps, okay? And then I ended up using some hardware at the end that I don't tell you about at the beginning because, as you know, life happens. It just does. So you'll see in the video what happens. But anyway, this is the crossbody purse. And then this is the other one that I started that I tell you guys about at the ending. And this is a little wider, as you can see. Let's see. Not a whole lot wider, but a little bit. And I did some applique on the front, and I have a pocket on the inside, just a small, I think it was 4 by 5 inch. Okay, and this is a close-up of the purse that I had, that I made the first time. So as you can see, I didn't use any hardware. I just attached the strap onto the tabs. So I can't think of anything else that I had already put in the introduction, so I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to get busy. I hope you guys liked today's tutorial, okay? And thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you guys could click the like button, and if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe. But if you do, be sure to ring the bell. Make sure you click until it shows up top where it says all. It's a black bell, because otherwise you won't get notifications. And I'm going to be doing a live stream within the next couple of days. Yay. Okay. See you around for the tutorial. Thanks. Okay, so first I'm going to lay out all the pieces. But before we do that, I want to show you, because I used fat quarters for these, okay? So if you use fat quarters, I want to make sure you know exactly which way I cut them, because if you cut them the wrong way, you're going to be out of luck. Okay, so this is the longer side, okay? This measures 22 3/4, and that is counting the selvage edge, okay? Now the other way measures 18 3/4. So when you cut your piece, your 10-inch wide is going side to side, and you're going to cut this length. Now what I got out of it was, let me see, it was 22 1/4 inches is what I got. Now when I was using, to make these, a few years ago, I was using yardage. So I normally cut them at anywhere between 22 and 24, 25 inches. You do it however big you want your crossbody purse to be. This is all adjustable. This is just a guide. You can make it any size you want. Now the 10-inch wide part, if you cut 10-inch wide, and then you're going to need your strips of fabric. So let me show you this. Let's pretend this is, well, this is the piece we're going to use, okay? So there's my 10-inch wide by 22.25. But then we can't forget that we have straps to make. So this, again, is the selvage edge. I cut a 4-inch strip and a 4-inch strip. And do you know I had about 1/8 of an inch left? So you can do it, but be very careful. You know, don't go crazy straightening up your edge. I did straighten up one edge before I started cutting these 3 pieces out. But when I did it, I was very mindful that I needed every little bit of that fat quarter to make this. Now, that being said, you know, if you want to make your straps out of a different fabric, then you don't need to worry. If you have yardage, you don't need to worry. If you've made this out of a piece that you sewed your crumbs together, or you have a quilt block you want to use, you don't have to worry about this either. And I have made purses like that. I've made them out of strips. I've made them out of crumbs. This is just a really easy purse. Okay, so I'm going to take this orange piece out of there, and I'm going to show you what you need, although it will be in the description box below. I will have every measurement that you need down there, but I want to explain what each of these pieces is for. Okay, now the outer part of the purse I'm making today is going to have these 2 pieces. So this is going to be the back piece, and this is going to be the front piece. Okay, so the part that's in the back is the longer piece, 10 inches by 22.25. This piece is 10 by 16.25, but we need a lining. So I cut from another fat quarter. I cut my lining out of that blue, the same size. And then I used the corresponding red for this. And again, the same exact size. So then I have 4 inches wide by whatever I could get, which was, for me, 22.25. And I cut that out of 2 pieces. Now, because this piece here is smaller, you're going to have a little strip of piece left over if you use fat quarters. And from that, you can cut your 2 tabs, which measure 2.5 by 3 inches. So you need 2 at 2.5 by 3 inches. I'm going to set these pieces aside for a minute because I want to show you something here. Now, the next thing you'll need is some interfacing. And I say need because it does make the bag better. Is it a necessity? No. It's a recommendation, though, that I would highly recommend that you use it, but you do not have to. Okay, now because we're going to be working with French seams and sewing a lot along the edge, I don't want you to put your fusible right up close to the seams, okay? So what you want to do is leave it with some fabric along the edge. Just kind of even it up and eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And what I used for mine is this. It's the Pellon 911 fusible featherweight interfacing. And I had to use a damp cloth over it, and you want to use a lot of steam on your iron, and I think it was the wool setting. Yes, the wool setting for 10 seconds. On previous bags, I have used the Shapeflex 101. I did try some cotton batting in there, and anything works, but I will say that this fusible featherweight or the SF 101 are the 2 that I prefer, but that's just me. Okay, so you're going to take this over to your iron, and you're going to attach that interfacing. Now the smaller piece that goes in the front, the smaller pocket, we are not putting interfacing on there. It really doesn't need it. You could, but it does not need that. So what we're going to do right now, I'm going to do it off camera. Oh, actually, no, I'm going to back up. Goodness, I get ahead of myself here. You need 2 zippers. So these are the 2 zippers I chose. And you can see that these are very long. These are, wow, 24 inch. I would recommend a longer zipper. Now I got some out that are shorter just to show you something here. If you're working with shorter zippers, okay, then when you have these attached to the fabric, these pieces are going to be together, okay? And then to do your top stitching, you can only open that as far as that zipper will go. That doesn't leave you a lot of room to work with. It is possible to do it. I've done it, but I made note that I would buy a longer zipper the next time. So I'm just saying that if you have a longer zipper, you definitely don't need a 24 inch, but if you have a longer zipper, you're going to have an easier time doing your top stitching, and it's probably going to come out a bit neater. So you need that. Okay, so far what you need are 2 zippers, your interfacing, your 2 larger pieces that are 10 by 22 1/4 or whatever the length of your fat quarter is, and your shorter front pocket, which is 10 inches by 16 1/4. You need your 2 smaller pieces, wherever those went to, and those are 2 1/2 by 3 inches. And you need your, I have 4 pieces because I'm going to piece them. If you're working with yardage, you can do something different, but I have 4 pieces of 4 inch by 22 1/4 to make my strap with. Now, I have made these with D-rings. If you saw What's Up Wednesday there a week or 2 ago, I showed you a purse I made with an adjustable strap, which we are not doing today, but I will link that strap below. But we're just going to make it for ourselves, so we'll be able to judge how long we want our strap to be. Okay, so let's get started. You're going to cut your pieces, and I want you to attach your fusible fleece centered to one of your outer pieces. It doesn't matter which one. The other thing we're going to do, because I'm going to be over by my sewing machine, is I'm going to lay these pieces, excuse me. Oh, and look, I got out my new pin cushion. I made 2 of them when I did the tutorial, and then last week I was saying, boy, I need to make myself a new pin cushion. I already had one, so I just picked the really cute one with, I know you can't see, but it's got a little baby fox and stuff. So I got out some new pins. They're not all dull, so that's good. Okay, so I'm going to lay this just like this, front sides together, right sides facing. I'm going to match up my corners, and I'm going to sew right here on the diagonal, 45-degree angle. So I'm sewing from this corner here. Can you see that corner? I'm just sewing right straight across, and then what will happen is something that'll look like that, okay? I'm going to do that on my red piece and my blue piece, and I'm going to attach the fusible fleece. And then I'll meet you back here for the next step. Oh, and I am just going to be using a straight stitch with 2.0 millimeter stitch length. Yeah, a straight stitch and 2.0. And I'm using blue thread. I don't really think it matters. I did make a mark. You can probably see I made a mark. Let me see if I can show it for my diagonal. Maybe you can't see it, but I did. I made a mark going this way. Just You can eyeball it and it will probably turn out all right, but I'm not that talented when it comes to things like that. So I'm just going to zip along this for the strap. And I apologize if you can hear my fan running in the background. Hopefully with my microphone, you guys are hearing me better. There were a few people before. I say a few, because there was 2 people who said they couldn't hear me well, and I don't know, because they were the only 2 who ever said it, but everyone else seemed to be able to hear me. And you see my nice little box. Check that out. My husband made it for me, and the side of it is just a, I go to that yardstick. There we go, from Lowe's. And I keep all my little doodads in it. I've had it for quite a while now. I have more than one, and I love those. In fact, I just asked him today if he could make me a few more because I think they're adorable. They look good on the shelves, and they're handy to have, all that. All right, let's go back over to the table. All right, so I set up the small iron over here. Hopefully, yeah, it's hot. I'm not crazy about this iron. I really thought I was going to like it, but I think everybody has favorite things and such. Now, I will say that iron came in very handy for making masks, and it is good for small items, but I like a nice hot iron, and that just doesn't really cut it for me in a lot of applications. Some it does, and it's handy to have. Like today, I'm filming and showing you guys something, and it will work. There's some triangles for the crumb box or the scrap box. Okay, so before I sewed, I did attach my fusible interfacing to one of the blue pieces. So I'm going to set those aside for a moment. And as you saw, I just trimmed these up, and I'm going to press them. And I usually like to press them open, and I need my clapper because that's going to come in handy. See, it wasn't too far. I don't leave that very far away from me these days. Someone asked me the other day, Robin had a live feed over on RS Island Crafts, and she asked me how I liked my clapper, and I said, oh my land, I don't know how I got by without it, because I really don't. I love it. Everything lays so much neater. And this you definitely want to lay neat. The one thing I forgot to say at the beginning is I put a little bit of cotton batting in my straps. You don't have to. Actually, you could use pieces of the interfacing that you put onto that blue piece, onto the larger piece. I personally like the cotton batting. I prefer that more in a strap. But as I always say, we all like what we like, so you do whatever you want to do, and we'll all be happy. Happy, happy. Did you catch my silly Thursday chit-chat? I have to tell you a funny story. I'm here filming away, and my husband's doing his own thing, and he has no idea what I'm saying. He doesn't know what's going on, And I've always said if people had had insight into what goes on inside my head, they'd think I'm crazy. But you know, part of what I do on this channel is I just chit chat. I tell you guys whatever is going on in my head. So I sat down on Thursday, and so I filmed it all out. And then later that night, I brought YouTube up on the TV when we got in bed. So we were watching YouTube. So I brought it up and showed him what I had posted to you guys, the Thursday chit chat. And when it got to the part of me trying to point to my microphone, he laughed until tears rolled down his cheeks. He laughed so hard. Because what had happened, to explain it, is I went to point at my new microphone. And I thought it was on my left side. That's where I attached it. But when I went to point, I happened to look in the laptop screen, which mirrored everything. So then it made it look like it was on the opposite side. It's hard to describe. So I went back and forth and back and forth. All right, enough of that. I have an oopsie. You see that? That's a little bit off. But you know what? It's not going to matter, because I'm going to fold these edges in. Nobody is going to know that that is there, okay? And that's just because when I did this diagonal, it shifted. It shifted. That's nothing, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is the average, done it a million times if you've made straps and bags. You're going to fold this in half and press. Just fold it in half and press all the way along. Now, I'm not going to use my clapper just yet. In fact, I'm going to go get my other iron for this job because I need more steam. All right, now I have my other iron and it's cold. Why not, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this in half just like this. And we're going to crease it here. And when we're done, we're going to fold it into that crease mark, press. Go to the other side, fold it to the crease mark and press. And then we're going to fold it like this. And this is going to be our strap. And this is where I'm going to put the strips of cotton batting, which I guess I could go prep that while the iron's heating. It's a good thing you guys thought of that. Okay, so this is what I did, is I just cut, they're just about 3/4, 7/8 of an inch. They're just, and see, I just took it off a little scrappy piece that I had because that's what I do. I use up all my scraps. All right, so I'm going to show you this for a moment. In fact, I'll probably speed this part up just so you guys can see what I'm doing. And I am using steam, but I am not pressing like this, okay? I'm not ironing back and forth. I'm going to press and lift, press and lift. All right, now we have our tabs. So we're going to deal with these while we're right here with the iron. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to fold those in half, give them a little press and a little bit of steam to make them stay in place. Fold them to the center. Now I have little pieces of that fusible interfacing that I have left. In fact, it's sitting somewhere here. I've got a piece, oops, floating through the air like a feather. And hopefully it will be, I'm sure it will be plenty long enough. But I might have to adjust the width of it in some way. Then I'll get this one ready. And I'm going to use a small piece of this interfacing on the inside of the tab. And that's just to give it a little more stability. It is holding our straps, so that's probably best. So yep, there it is. It's just about right. You're going to want something that fits in the center. So open it completely up. And you do not have to go all the way to the edge. And you might have noticed that I did that same thing with the cotton batting. I didn't go all the way to the edge because you're going to be sewing those ends into your seam. So you don't want to bulk it up any more than what you have to. And I'm just going to use a lot of steam. This normally says to use a damp pressing cloth, but I think it will be fine as long as I use a lot of steam. So I'll do the same thing here. Boy, that's nice and flat. A hard time holding on to this stuff. I have really dry skin, so it sticks to me, so I try not to handle it any more than I have to. I hear the steam going. It's like a sound effects. All right. So I bet you can guess what we're going to do now. When I used to make these, when I first started making these, I would do all the purse parts first, and I would leave the straps and the tabs until last. But for me, I know it's probably a head game. It just seems like it goes quicker when I have all this prepped, okay? So I'll take you over with me, but what we're going to do is we're going to sew about 1/8 of an inch from the edge on both edges of these, as well as both edges of the strap, and I'm going to use some kind of decorative stitch to go down the center because we need to hold that cotton batting in place. Now, if you use the fusible interfacing like what's on here, if you use that in your strap piece, you could simply do a straight line or something like that because it's not going to shift as much as the cotton would. Okay, let's go do that and let's get this thing made. I'm going to use a 3.0 stitch length because I think the longer stitch looks better on a strap or a handle of any kind. And I'm just going to sew as close to the edge as I neatly can sew. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now you're going to take your front pieces, your pocket. So let's start with the large one, not that it really matters. Put it right side down. Put your lining piece right side up. Pin or clip those together. So both pieces are facing the right side out, okay? We don't need any oopsies. And because we're working with a French seam, that's why everything is just a little different than how you'd expect it to be. But it's going to make for some nice, neat seams. Okay. We're going to do the same thing with this one. Put the right side down. Put the right side up. Now I always match my corners first. That's probably what you do as well. What we're going to do, we're going to do some stitches that will not show when this purse is done. So I don't want you to worry about it. Not a thing to worry about. The only thing I want you to be mindful of is we are going to be stitching all the way around. There is no opening. We don't have to worry about that. But we're going to stitch very close to the edge. So you want to go about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, just so all the way around both pieces meet me back here. Okay, here's our next part. Now, we are going to place our zipper right side up. So you can see the zipper pull pointing up. Okay, right side up. And if you have a nice long zipper like what I do, you can leave yourself some space away from there. Okay, that way when your presser foot won't mess with that. Okay, so whatever your right side is, you're going to put right side down against that edge. And again, I'm going to bring it away from the edge. Now, normally, I would tell you, and I would too, I would normally put this fabric right up to the tip top of that zipper, but I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do it on this one, and I'm going to show you why. First, what we're going to do is just barely, can you see that? Just, whoops, I don't even want it to be that much. Just barely. You're just going to leave a little bit. Okay, I don't want you to look over here. That's not done yet, but okay, just a little bit. Okay, and there's a reason for that, because normally our zippers are in between the fabrics, so that edge would never ever show. But the way this bag is done, for the simplicity of it, you see the underside of the zipper inside the bag. So if you put your fabric right up to the tippy top of that, then if you have any fraying here, it's going to show. Those strings will show. And then because I've been sewing this bag for quite some time, I've come up with a few tricks. And one of them involves, when we top stitch, I'm going to show you how to hide those little strings that might be there, and it's going to look nice and neat. In fact, I have another bag that I've been working on, and hopefully I'll be able to show you here. I really wanted it to be done so I could show you guys on this one, but I didn't get it done. I just started it this morning, so you know, that's how that goes. All right, so I have this pinned. You can certainly clip it. I personally would rather pin a zipper than clip a zipper, because then I know it stays directly where I've got it, but you do whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing with the red piece. The zipper is right side up. And since this is what I want showing, I'm putting right side down. leaving myself that space, not going up to the very edge of the fabric, just close enough. I would say about a 1/16 of an inch, okay? And when you stitch it, still use your zipper foot and the edge of that zipper as a guide. You're not going to do anything any differently than what you normally would do. So I want you to just do whatever you normally would do with a zipper. And you're going to see here in just a few minutes why I always use a longer zipper on this bag. Okay, so we're going to take this over to the sewing machine. I'm not going to show you this part. You've seen me put in a zipper before. I'm going to put on my zipper foot and I'm going to line it up with this edge here and I'm going to sew across, and I'm going to do that on both of these, and I'll meet you right back here. You can do this. You go do it. I'll do it. We'll meet back. Alrighty, I'm all done. So I'll take the pins out of this. Okay, let's flip it around to the right side. And we'll put our zipper how it's going to look when it's on our bag. Straighten it out. And I'm going to press that. Because you know me, I like to press. I like things to look neat. But we're also going to top stitch this, so we need it pressed so that it's in place where it should be. Now, normally when I top stitch a zipper, I stitch from this side, the top side, and I usually put my presser foot here, and you know, I measure whatever I'm going to measure, whether I seat it up against the actual zipper part or if I, you know, eyeball it. But what we're going to do this time, after that's pressed so that you know that line is going to stay in place, you're going to flip that over, okay? There's a reason. Now remember that that raw fabric is underneath there and you don't want that sticking out, right? So all we're going to do is run a couple of stitches across that. It really doesn't take much to hold the zipper in place. And I am going to use a 3.5 millimeter stitch length, okay, going across. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me get a needle here that you can see. I'm going to go as close to this edge as I can, okay? There's actually a little line you can see on my zippers anyway. You can almost see it. And I'm just going to try to line up with that, okay? So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Open it up. Straighten out my zipper a little bit. A little press. You want to be careful. I mean, you can get a little bit of heat near that zipper, but it's plastic. So just keep that in mind, that you're working with plastic there and you don't want to melt it. That would not be good, because then you'd need another zipper. And you would say, Marie, why didn't you tell me that? Ask me how I know they melt, huh? I got a little handy with the iron one time. Little bit more heat than what it could take. And you know what? Is it looked really good. My project looked really good until I went to unzip it. The little teeth were melted together. So yeah, I didn't unzip. Okay. So whatever bobbin thread, because you're working from the top, whatever bobbin thread you have in here is what's going to be showing on top. So just make up your mind what you want that to be and go with it. I have a hard time keeping this thing straight for some reason. I hate threads, especially ones I can't grab, which is exactly why I have tweezers everywhere. Whoa, almost went off my zipper there. This probably is not going to be my straightest seam ever. Let's see what it looks like. Well, passable. All right, we'll go with it. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one, only I am going to pop in the blue bobbin because I want that blue thread on the top. Goodness, get out of the way. I really need to clean my sewing machine. I haven't done that. I've sewn some things since I've done that, so I probably should. Ah, motorcycle. Alrighty, let's take a look and see what we've got. Get my stitch sling, get my needle moved over. 1, 2. I moved it all the way over to the left and then back too, if you're wondering. I don't, let me see, it's 0.6, but I suppose every machine would be different depending on the stitches available. So that might not mean anything too, you know, depending on what you have for a machine. I was talking to someone about my treadle, and oh boy, I wish I could be using that treadle machine. Oh, I guess it was with the interview with Stephen Bland last week when we were talking. We were talking about, you know, sewing machines, and he had his mom's Singer treadle at one point and ended up, well, he doesn't have it anymore. I have one. It's a 1910 Singer, and I would love for that thing to be working. And it isn't, but I don't have anyone in this area that can fix it. So that's the story of that right now. All right, let's go back over to the table. All right, let's see what we have now. I keep forgetting to turn I have a tablet here that shows me what you guys see, and I keep forgetting to turn it. All right, so place it right sides up so you can see what's going on here. All right, then I want you to fold up the bottom to meet that zipper. Okay. Whoops, I don't know why I turned it over. You don't need to. All right, so you've just folded up, meet the top of the zipper. Line up your sides. Make sure your side seams are good. Of course, I left my pin cushion over there because I took it off. See, that's my problem. I took it off. All right, and again, we are going to make sure the sides are lined up. We're going to bring that piece of fabric just a little bit below the top of the zipper. But see, it knows where it needs to go. So it's laying right there. This one lays really nice. You don't really have to mess with it like the first one. Kind of knows right where it needs to go. Knows how to behave. So just make sure that you're lined up on both sides. And that's ready to stitch across there. So let's get the other one going. Fold it up. Align your sides. Now this time I'm going to stitch, and I'm not going to take you with me because I have all the faith in the world that you got this. You know what you're doing now. So you're going to stitch across there. And then comes the important part. You're going to top stitch just like we did a minute ago, where we showed where we put it so that the zipper side was up. And this is where it comes in handy for you to have that longer zipper, because if it's too short, then the top stitching part is going to be a little bit tricky for you, because this is going to be sewn into a circle. Because once we sew this seam across here, then it's like this. And if you don't have a long zipper to unzip and open that, then top stitching is going to be a little trickier. It can be done, and I've done it with a shorter zipper. It's just much easier this way. Okay, I'm going to go stitch these zippers and top stitch these zippers, and I'll meet you right back here. All right, I haven't top stitched, but I was thinking that I should probably show you this part because it is a little different. So you're going to unzip as much as you can. And this is where I'm saying if you have the longer zipper, it's definitely a help. Okay, because then you can lay it out just like we did the first one. And you can press it and pin it and top stitch it and all that, which I will do right now. Just really quickly. Just kind of hold it in place. I just feel that it's flat in behind there. And then I just pin it in place. Just enough to hold it. So see, if this zipper ended like right here, I wouldn't have very much room to put my hand in here and unzip. But just unzip it, use what you have, unzip it what you can. But if you go to make another one, just remember the longer zippers are definitely the better zippers. Got a piece of thread in there somewhere. Somehow I'll have to clip it when I get back over there. Okay, so I will go stitch these now, but I just wanted to pop over and show you the reason, like open the zipper up and show you what it should look like, because it is a little bit different, like I say, than the first part was. So you've kind of got a tube there that you're working with. All right, now we're going to close these up and see what we have. Now, I want one thing I want to tell you guys about, so you don't make the same mistake I did when I first made this. And let me show you the purse. This was the purse that I made first with this pattern, okay? And if you notice, the zipper pulls from the right to the left. Well, that's not how I wanted it. I wanted the zipper pull on the right to the left. So, depending on how you want it, okay, it's just as simple as this. If you lay it this way and your zipper pull is on the left, opening, then center this how you want it, leaving your section up here that we need to do, all right? And you would do the same thing with this one. Just make sure that your zipper pull is on the left side, because to change it, all you need to do is turn it. And then your zipper pulls on the other side. So it just depends on how you want it. Now, the next thing that we're going to do this right now. We're going to put the tabs in here, okay? But before I do that, I want to tell you about a few things that I have done before. I have added lace. I've added an applique right here, and how I did that was I opened this up. I used some Heat and Bond light against a fabric, just like I did with those postcards where I added things. I put the applique on the front, stitched around just through this layer before I pieced this together. I've put small pockets in here. I've put pockets on the inside, and of course that was done before they went together. So I just wanted to give you some ideas of things that you could do if you wanted to. Okay, so we're going to lay everything out how it's going to go, and then we're going to press it, okay? So fold your zipper tabs in half. And I'm going to give mine a little bit of press if my iron was on. Because my iron's never on when I need it, is it? Okay, well, in the meantime, what we're going to do, we're going to make sure we have enough room here. Because you could move this up. You could move that up more. You know, I like to give myself, you know, a little bit of space. That's probably about 1.5 inches. I like to have a little bit of space between the top of the zipper and the tab. Now you only want the tab in there a little bit, you know, maybe a little more than 1/4 inch. So what we're going to do when the iron heats up is I'm going to press my zipper tabs in half, but I'm also going to press here. I want all this pressed nicely, top and bottom. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit here so you can see a little bit more. Okay, I want to press down here and up here because we need that nice and flat. Oh, there's my iron. Okay, so now that I know I have enough space there, I'm going to press this. One thing you could do too is put your hand inside there. Just make sure there are no wrinkles down to the bottom. That has a tendency to wrinkle down there with the lining. And I'm using some steam here. Doesn't need to be perfectly flat, but you want your lines there. You want to know where your seam is. And again, be mindful of where your iron is compared to your zipper. You don't want to melt it. So while we're right here, I'm going to place this and make sure that my zipper is on the correct side. Now, this is another one. You could put this down here. You could put this, you know, however much you want to leave above your zipper is totally up to you. And when I first saw this bag done, they told me to stitch across the top, like right here. You didn't stitch through the whole thing, but you opened this top piece up and you stitch through here. But I don't do that. And I'm going to tell you why. Because this is another pocket, okay? And I like that pocket. Now, you could certainly close it up if you want to, but for what I'm going to show you today, I'm going to show you the way I like to do it, and then you can change it to be anything you want. So now that I know how much of a fold I wanted there, I'm going to press this so that it stays in place because I'm going to be moving this around a little bit here. So let's take a look. We've got this here. I'm going to line up the bottom. That's the important part. Line up the bottom and the sides. You want that bottom to be nice and even with that. And don't worry about your extra zippers just yet. We're going to take care of that in a minute. Okay. So, excuse me. I want you to pull your zippers for right now, just past here, okay? You don't want them out here because you don't want to sew those in there. You can't get that back without a seam ripper, okay? And then put a pin or a clip both sides of that zipper to hold that where it needs to be, okay? Now what I'm doing is I'm grabbing this top part. I'm leaving the back of the bag there, okay? So just grab that and pin it. We're going to do that to both sides. I'm pinning this top piece where it needs to be. Okay. Now what I want you to do is go over to the sewing machine, open this up. So you got a tube. You see this? we're going to stitch right here. So I'm going to stitch about a 1/2 inch from right here to right here along this edge. I'm going to try to point that out a little better. Let me see if I can find something to show you where I'm doing it, just in case you can't see. So I'm going to hold on to the top of this, and I'm going to sew the red to the blue for about a 1/2 inch, and I'm going to back stitch a couple of times, okay? I'm going to do that. And that is going to make it so it reinforces my pocket. Is it necessary? No, but it also looks nice, okay? And you know what? For the sake of French seams, let's go 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to mark that at 3/4 of an inch. See if I can find that. Great. I'll use this. 3/4 of an inch, and I am going to put a pin in that. So I know to start and stop right there. Let me see if I can zoom in on that a little bit more so you can see. So I'm going to stitch. Well, hold up that button, keep that back right out of there. And I'm going to stitch back and forth right here on both sides for 3/4 of an inch. And then I'll be right back. Okay, here we go. I stitched it. So let me see where we are. Okay, I'm going to zoom back out just a little bit more. Okay. So I stitched 3/4 of an inch in from both sides at the top of that red. Now we're going to do 2 things, and then we're almost done. Okay. I think my iron is hot unless it shut itself off, which it tends to do because, you know, I get forgetful, or it's probably a good thing. But yeah, I get busy doing things and then I forget about it. Okay. So we're going to place, whoops, I thought I had my pins in there on the zippers. Want to make sure everything stays in place where it should. Make sure that your sides are lined up. Put your zipper, the 2 ends, or your zipper, your tab, just barely inside. Not very much, okay? And I am going to place a pin to hold that in place, and I'm going to put the other side on there. And do the same thing. And I bet you know what I'm going to have you do now, don't you? I'm going to have you go over to your sewing machine. I'm going to have you tack this in place. So what you're going to do, let me zoom out. I don't like this angle here. Let's see. Maybe that's too much. All right. So leaving all the layers together, I want you to go over and just stitch right there. Just give it a little stitch. You're only holding it in place, okay, so that it doesn't fall out. So I want you to go over and stitch those 2 tabs in place. But while you're there, I want you to open up your zipper so you've got some space. And I want you to stitch across the bottom, very close to the edge. Just stitch right across the bottom. It's just a straight line. No worry. No harm, no foul. Just right across the top. So you're going to stitch that. You're going to stitch your tabs in place, and you come running back here because I'll be waiting for you. Okay, here we go. And I'm back. That's sewn nice and neatly across the bottom so you can see it on the other side. Okay. Let's finish this up. All right, let's take our zippers. You especially want to make sure that you leave your zippers open when you're doing zippered bags of any kind. It can be crucial to the outcome, and ask me how I know. Okay, let's pin this whole thing down. front to back, okay? You're attaching the front to the back with your pins or clips. Then we're going to come along and we're going to fix our zippers. But let's get this held in place first, okay? I want to make sure it's even with the bottom. Make sure that your sewn line is exactly at the bottom and that your sides are meeting, okay? Everything will fall into place, don't you worry. And if it doesn't, you tell me, because I'll have a talk with that. Right. Now when I do this part, I fold my little things out of the way, my little tabs, because you know what I've done before? Do you know where this sentence is going? I've cut this off and cut my tabs off. You knew what I did, didn't you? Yeah, I've made a mistake here and there before. Okay, let's move this. Now, where is my rotary cutter? Did someone move my rotary cutter? Is someone playing tricks on me? Oh, I know where it is. See, I keep this by a friend of mine. My friend Terry made me this. And I keep my my scissors and all my doodads in it. And I carry it around. And when I'm not using it for that, I keep it up where it shows because I like it. It has my name on it. And she made it special for me. Okay. I make sure that my zippers are open. And I don't want anyone to tell me don't do this. I know I should not cut the edge of this with a rotary cutter and cut through zippers. I know. But this is not a new blade, so I'm not concerned. The other thing I am going to get with this edge is any of the strings, okay? And I know you can see those strings, those edges, okay? And if you want to save these can be neat because you can use these on the side of zippered bags, like those open wide zippered bags, as a handle, as a little pull handle. I do save my zippers. There's a lot of crafty things I have thought of that I could do with them. All right, so you're going to sew both sides. And again, make sure that your zipper pulls are into your bag so you don't ruin your whole bag. You don't ruin everything that you've done so far. That would be disastrous and nobody wants that. Okay. Get rid of that ruler. I dropped my ruler yesterday and the edge of it isn't quite so neat as it used to be. Yeah. But accidents happen. There's nothing I can do about it now. It is what it is, as the saying goes. Okay. Now what we're going to do, this is the whole end part other than our strap. We're going to take this over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch right down here, okay? Down both sides, all right? Because then we're going to flip it right side out and do our French seams. So I don't want you to sew like way in here. You don't need to come way in here on a seam allowance. You want to grab everything, but try to keep it around a quarter or just underneath has been my experience for this is what works well, okay? So just try to keep it about a 1/4 inch. Now I don't want you to sew the bottom. You're just going to do 2 sides, okay? So let's go sew both sides with a 1/4 inch or just under a 1/4 inch. And you know, you can use a 2.0, 2.5 stitch length, somewhere in there, okay? Sew the sides, come back here. You know, this whole time that we've been doing this, I have this song going through my head. You know when that happens, like you'll hear a song and it just will not leave you. So this has been going on for 2.5 days, okay? Not fun, not fun, especially when I tell you what song it is. And so I hope it doesn't happen to you, but I'm going to tell you the story of how this happened. So I was on Facebook 2.5 days ago now, and one of my friends had posted like one of those little videos, And it said, once you see this, you can't unsee it. And it was from the movie Dirty Dancing with Jennifer Grey and, oh no, I go to say, is it Patrick Swayze? I went to say his name, couldn't remember. But instead of the music that should be going to it, the song that accompanied the dance that they did in that particular part of the movie, they had it set to the theme to the Muppet Show. Yeah. So, you know, if you're my age or older, you know the Muppet Show and you can think of that song in your head. I won't try to sing it. I can't do it. That has been on a continual loop in my head since I saw that video, and I can't get it out of there. I've tried listening to other music and it's just not happening. So, you know, thank you to whoever it was on my friends list that happened to put that up there. No, it's not their fault. I don't know how it happened. But anyway, now that we're chatting, I'm going to give you the creative word of the day. And the creative word of the day is blue. Okay, so now doesn't this look nice? It's looking really neat. It's looking more like a purse, but now we have to get rid of those edges. So open your big zipper all the way up and let's flip this bag inside out. Where's Sally? I know I've got Sally here somewhere. For anybody new, Sally is my turner and she's a little pokey thing. Oh, she's in here. She's hiding in the bag. So for any of you new ones, yeah, there goes my iron. Sally is something that my husband constructed one day when I needed a turner. So he had this little round wooden thing that came in a box of craft stuff that we got at a secondhand store, and he just took a dowel and he sharpened it with the pencil sharpener and then dulled it a little bit for me, stuck that on there, and she was rolling everywhere. So I told him off with her head. Now, he chucked off the back of her head to make her flat so she doesn't roll. She works out great. Her name is Sally. Okay. So we're going to turn this. Okay. And be careful. You don't want to do too much damage there. But you want to flip this bag like so. Straighten your little edges up. Now pull your zipper in some. You don't want your zipper all the way to the edge this time. Pull it in a little bit. Okay. Straighten up your tabs. Whoops, I just popped off my fake fingernail for the second time in this video. I really need to get my fingernails professionally done. But have I? No. Okay. I wouldn't tell you that pulling it with a needle is a great idea, but yet I'm going to. Okay. Now, I do not edit out mistakes. I have never edited out mistakes, nor will I ever. And I'm going to show you what I just saw. You see that? I didn't quite catch my fabric, so I'm going to flip this back out. So if this happens to you, you'll know what to do. Flip it right back out. Keep note of where it is. See? Oh, I can see it. It's right there. It's right there. So I'm going to take it back over to my sewing machine. Let me flip it all the way out here. See? And I'm going to go in just a little bit further because that blue is frayed, and that's what happened, is it didn't hold the seam. So I'm going to go stitch that up, and I'll meet you right back here. All right. Now, let's see what we have now. I think I must have gotten it. All right, so as best as you can, poke out all 4 of your corners. The neater you get them, the neater your purse will look. Okay. And my iron is off, but normally I like to give it just a quick little press, and that is to make sure that my seams are laying as flat as they can, because that matters in the outcome. And maybe you aren't someone who likes to iron a lot, and I get that. I do. I understand that there are people who don't like to iron. But this I would say would be beneficial, okay? Be mindful of where your zippers are. Don't keep the heat on there too long. See how nice and flat that's laying already, okay? So just give it a little bit. Give it a little bit. You're going to thank me in the end, or maybe you won't. You'll say, I don't like to iron. Don't make me do it. Okay. All right. Silliness aside, I like to pin this in place because then it helps hold the lines where they should be, because this is what's going to determine how neat our purse looks on the outside. Okay. And we don't want a messy purse. We've come this far, you know, been goofing around, and we want it to look nice. But I tell you, this purse, the first time it might seem like, oh, there's a lot of steps, but you know, really there isn't. There really isn't. This is pretty straightforward. And I was thinking today, I would like to do this with one of those lace zippers. That would be a pretty one, wouldn't it? Okay, the only thing I'm going to warn you about here, or tell you to be careful of, is when you get to this part right here, okay? Because you don't want your zipper to be gapped, but you don't want it to overlap either. Now, I find that if I pin just like this, it still doesn't always stay in place, because when you start to take your presser foot and you get near there, sometimes it can buckle and it can kind of push it. So if you have to lift up your presser foot and readjust, just do that. It only takes a moment and it makes it look so much better. All right, now we are going to sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance along both sides. You could actually go 3/8 of an inch. You just want to make sure that, remember that seam on the other side that we had, the one I just had to fix. You don't want that sticking out. So if you can feel it, as long as you go to the side of that, you're good. And see, that's another reason why we trimmed those threads, because those would be sticking out here, okay? All right, so we're going to go stitch, and I back tack at the beginning and the end. All right, we're almost there. It's almost showtime. Okay, now I didn't plan to bring you guys over here with me, but you know, I thought of something else. I thought, I'm just going to take them over there and show them. Okay, number one, if your zipper still has those metal pieces on, or the metal piece on one end, be really careful, okay? Because you don't want to hit that with your needle. That could fly out metal and, you know, all that. That would not be good. All right. So I am using a stitch length of 2.0 is what I'm going to put it on. And I will say at this point that I don't think I have ever gone down the sides of these purses and had them be exactly straight, because you're sewing through a lot of bulk. Also, go slow. There's no need to go really fast, and your machine might thank you, because there are some bulky seams here. And especially, I like to back tack on that zipper tab, or the tabs up at the top. I like to go back and forth on that, because that's a pretty thick piece. You're going through 10 layers of fabric or something like that by the time you're done. So yeah, and like right here where I am, I can feel the bulk of that other zipper. Now I couldn't press it with the iron hard enough or long enough because of the heat to actually get that bump down. So I'm just going to hold it in place, and then I'm going to back tack there, because I really want it to hold there. And let's see what we get. Because attaching the next part, attaching the handles, that's easy. There's nothing hard about that. And like I said earlier, when I did the purse the other day for our daughter for her birthday, I made an adjustable strap because I don't know how short or long she wants her strap. And I will leave a link below that you can go check out how to do that. It was not hard at all. In fact, I thought about incorporating it into this bag, but for the sake of time, I thought this time would not be good, because it's just like with the wide open zippered bag that I made a while back. That was one of my first tutorials. I love that bag and I make it a lot. But there's a lot of variations. Like I said in a video a few weeks ago, there's a lot of variations that I could choose. But when you have to start over and make the whole bag to show someone, that would be a long video. So it's good to have like the base bag already made, and then we go back in another video and we learn how to do, like a pocket or a different kind of handle. Now see, here we are at that hump again. And remember, we had opened our zipper some, gotten our zipper out of the way, because if our zipper was pulled all the way over to the edge, that would not be good, now would it? That would not be a pretty sight here today. You don't have to worry about it being exactly straight. It's never going to be exactly straight. Oh, and I have made these with D-rings, where I put D-rings onto those zipper tabs. Why do I keep calling these a zipper tab? Onto these strap tabs. I'm bound and determined to call them zipper tabs. But anyway, I have placed D-rings on there, and you certainly could do that today. You do whatever your little heart desires, because it's all about happiness, scrappiness, happiness. They rhyme. All right, let's go see what we have. Did you know that only took about 5 seconds to get across the room, or did you guess? Okay, let's turn this right side out. Fingers crossed that everything is right. Now, when you turn it right side out, sometimes the pocket doesn't come out right the first time or something like that, but don't freak out. It's all there. Everything's fine. Everything's good. And I wish I had put an applique on the front of this pocket. I really do, because I have some really cute fabric with little teddy bears on it that would have matched really cute. But I'll probably put this up for sale, so I guess just because I like it doesn't mean someone else would necessarily like teddy bears, But I like the bag. I really like the bag. Okay. Is my iron still on? It is. Yay! Did someone come turn my iron back on for me? If you did, I thank you. I appreciate that. All right, you want to snip all your little threads and pieces. Now, if you follow the direction and what I said about trimming off those edges, like all the little threads, as well as if you went over far enough with your seam allowance, then you won't have very many threads. One of my first ones, I didn't do that, and I had little bits and pieces sticking out. Now, it's not the end of the world. You can fix it. You certainly can fix it. But it's easier to deal with it before it happens. So just press that out a little bit, make it look a little neater. Now I have a thread hanging out there, so I didn't hit everything either. Okay. And see, this is how we have that pocket, because we didn't close that up. And I could have gone over further, because now that stitching doesn't even show. So I should have gone an inch or an inch and a half. So note to self, next time, go further. All right, and so now we're going to do our handle. And you know what? I don't know why I made 2 handles. You know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of our tote bag. You don't need 2. You only need 1. So whichever one you want to use. Oh goodness, there's a siren or something coming. There was an ambulance. Okay, so I did that wrong. I'll confess that I did that wrong. So now I have to decide which strap I want. Because see, originally I was going to do half blue, half red. That had been my original intent. And I think I'm going to go with the blue. So let's move. I don't know. I'm so indecisive. See, I'm not good with decisions. Because that red looks pretty snazzy too. Well, well, well. Now, I'm going to show you. Wow, that didn't turn out well. You know what? We're going to fix that too. I'm not sure why that happened. Maybe I stuck my tabs in there too far. I have some of these swivel hooks, and that might be a good way to go because... Okay. So normally what we do when I don't mess up, see, which it isn't a terrible thing. It can be fixed. There's nothing that bad. I've got to get that poked through there. But usually I have more room. So I apologize for that. I feel bad that it happened. But you know, I could have edited it out. But you're going to run into stuff like this. It happens. So let's just fix it. And it's not life changing. It's not going to hurt anybody. You know, my paternal grandmother used to say, it's not a forever thing. Like, if we'd be in the store and, you know, us kids with my mother and my grandmother, and we called her Nana. And if we'd say, Nana, we want crayons, you know, and we'd beg her for this or that. And Mom would say, no. Nana would say, Ruth, it's not a forever thing. Let them have it. Because it's true. Some things are worth, you know, worth dealing with and others not. Okay, so this is one way to go. This is how I normally go. All right, you put this through here, you come into the back, you fold that under just barely, and you stitch this down. You see, just like this. In fact, this is what I'm going to do because this is how I showed you. I'm not going to use those swivel hooks. Now, keeping it straight, you got to keep your strap. In fact, I'm going to mark the front just so I know that this is the front of it if I don't twist it around again. But no, I won't do that. Whoops. I better do it up here. I won't leave myself enough room. Okay. So what I did is I folded it in half to get it through the tab. Okay. I'm going to check again. Double check. Okay. Now I come behind and I fold that under. In fact, I think I'm going to press that. That's probably a good way to keep it exactly where I want it to be. And did you notice when I opened that swivel hook package how cheap it was? Did you see that? They had been 2 for $1, but then they ended up at 4 for $1 at Martin's, so I had bought some. And they also had the same price. They had the D-rings. And so I had swivel hooks and D-rings and some of these belt loop things because that helps you make an adjustable purse too. So I bought, I think, 16 packages, so $4 worth. And do you know, I could kick myself for not getting more of, especially these swivel clips. Those are great things to have. And see, the other thing I could have done is I could have put that on there, like, you know, in through here and sewn it, and then just clipped this onto this little thing that I keep calling the zipper tab. That's actually just a tab that I can't seem to learn the name of. Okay, so as long as you have them even, I'm going to pin this into place to hold it. I'm going to neaten it up. I don't know if anything else can happen today, but there goes my pin. My pin broke. Let's try another one. I think I had that too close to the tab. All right, there's that. And I'm going to iron this one as well. Have to be fair. Don't want one to have hurt feelings. So is it nice where you guys are? Here in Maine, it was really cold this morning. It was like, I think it was like in the low 50s or maybe high 40s. I don't know. I didn't check, but it was cold. That wind was really cold. And I'm double checking this just to make sure that this is not in any way, shape, or form twisted. You know, I changed my mind. You can do this. I'm going to use my swivel hook. I am. I kind of like that look. So I just attach it the same way. And I should have used some fray check because this stuff just keeps on. The threads just keep going. So all I'm doing is putting it through there. I'm going to do this. I'm going to pin it in the same way. And I'm going to stitch that on the top and try this out. Make sure it works out all right before I commit 100%. I'll probably break another nail, you guys. Let's see. Yeah, I think I kind of like that with the hardware on there. I do. Okay, so that's how I'm going to do it. But I'm going to take it off the bag while I stitch it. So if you guys are interested in this way, that is a 3/4 inch, yeah, a 3/4 inch swivel latch. And I'm sure you can get them anywhere because I was looking through the other day and I know Walmart carries them. Okay, so again, I'm going to make sure that it's not twisted. And I want to put this on in the same way that I put the last one on. Then I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch this. And then I have something I want to show you guys after that. Okay, so I'm going to stitch these and I promise I'll come back. I won't leave you hanging, okay? If you wait, I'll come back. And I'm back. All right. So the strap is sewn. I just put it on there. Nothing fancy. All right. And like I said, I do apologize that that happened that way. But we deal with what is, right? So there's our purse, our crossbody purse. And I think they're beautiful. They're a cute little purse. Now, you could top stitch. And that's something I have done as well. I have top stitched along the sides. And it does neaten it up a little bit. It also takes a little bit of the space you know, the available carrying space. So I'm just going to leave this one as is, but if you wanted to, you certainly could top stitch down the edges. Whoops, I guess I got to push that out a little more. It looks a little caved in. I got to push it from the inside. So you've got 3 compartments, you know, and as I said, you could certainly add a pocket on the inside to either or both, but you've got the 2 zippered pockets. And then what I use this one for is like my phone and my keys go in there. But that's a cute little purse. And for the very little bit of fabric it takes, you know, you can make them up really quickly. And I'm going to show you the other one that I'm working on right now. So, but I'll show you that. Actually, you guys will see that before you see this part, because I always film this whole thing before I film my introduction, where I tell you welcome and what we're going to work on. So I'll show you that in that section. So either way, silly me. You'll have already seen it by the time I tell you you're going to see it. Doesn't take much to confuse me, huh? Okay, so the other thing I wanted to show you was, if you were with me the other day, you would have seen that I got these charms. And they're adorable. And they can go on the zipper pulls. But I also have these. And these say handmade, as do these. And these are just little rings that I bought that help me attach these to the zipper. And because of what those lobster clasps look like, they're kind of like they're not silver, they're not gold. I'm terrible with the names. I don't know what to say the color is. I don't know if you can see it that well. But either way, the silver doesn't really match with that. So my idea was going to be to put one of those on there. But if anything at all matched, it would be one of these. So I might put one of these on one or both of the zippers. I'm not sure. And I have to use one of these little coiled up, I'm not even sure what they're called, but I have to have a tiny pair of pliers to do it, and I'm not sure where those went to because I have some here in the sewing room. But anyway, and then I use these to clip, like I clip the ends together of the circle just to clamp it together and make it stay. Well, I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. I think it's been fun. Sorry about the mix-up, but there again, you know, we all make mistakes and it is what it is, and we had fun anyway, so it doesn't matter. As well as I showed you how to fix it if you have a mistake, you know. Just take a different path in the road and you don't worry about it, right? Okay, so I think that's an adorable purse. And I want to thank Kimberly from My Fabric Addiction 1 over on Etsy for the beautiful fabric that we used to make today's crossbody purse. So it looks like I'm going to be making another one. And I have a strap to put on it already. But really, I have other blues. And, you know, if I just make, you know, one fabric here, and use this for the strap, nobody's going to know I didn't plan it that way. So thanks so much, you guys, to all my friends out there, all my supporters. And we're going to do a live stream just a couple days. I'm finally taking the plunge. I'm brave enough. I'm not going to give you a whole lot of notice. Whatever day I do it, I'm just going to pop in there and just do it. I'm going to probably say, you know, live in 1 hour or something like that. So don't feel bad if you don't make it. You probably won't be missing much because I am just going to do it for a little bit of fun, you know, to try it out for my first time. Okay. And other than the live, I will see you on Wednesday unless I do a pop-up in between. And thank you guys for all your support on my last pop-up on Thursday. That was a fun video to make and just to chat with you guys. Okay, you take care. And until next time, I'll see you. Sew those scraps. Sew them up. Take care.